Okay, so once you download Libby to whichever device you are using, it will guide you through step by step how to sign in. So first of all, we are being prompted. It's asking us, do you have a library card? So I'm going to select yes. And then it's asking us, we can either search for our library or it can guess the library we use based on our location. I am going to click I'll search for a library. And then here we would just type in Carnegie Public Library. And I'm just going to click enter. So now we just need to scroll down until we find our library. So here we are, Carnegie Public Library. We see our address there in Washington Courthouse. So I'm going to click on this one. Okay. So now it is asking where I use my library card, and I use it in the Carnegie Public Library in Washington Courthouse. So I'm going to click on that again. And then this is where we are going to need to enter our library card number. So I'm going to enter my library card number really quickly. Once I have done that, I'm just going to click next. Now it wants my PIN, so I'm going to type that in real quick. And then I'm going to click sign in. Okay, so now I am signed into Libby. I can see my library card here, and I'm just going to click next. Once you are signed into Libby, this is what the home page is always going to look like. So what I really want to point out is these two links at the bottom of the page. The first one reads library, and then on the other side, we have a link that reads shelf. So right now we are on the library link, and this is where we can come to browse books, search for books, check things out, so on and so forth. If we come over here to the shelf link, I'm going to click on that. And this is where we can access books that we've already checked out. This is where we can see our holds. And this is where we can come to read our books or return them, those sorts of things. But I will come back to the shelf. And right now I'm going to head back to the library so that I can demonstrate how to browse for books and check them out. Okay, so the first thing that I am going to point out over here on the library page within Libby is the search bar up here at the top of the page. So if there is a specific book you are wanting to read, or there's a specific author that you really like and you want to see all of their works, you can come over here and type that into the search bar. So I am just going to type in James Patterson, and then I am going to click enter. So now I am going to be able to see everything in the Ohio Digital Library that contains the words James Patterson. So this is going to include books where he is the author, but it's also going to include books where his name appears in the title. So for example, right here, we have a biography of James Patterson. So now we can just scroll through until we found a book we wanted to read. One thing I'm going to point out really quickly is that if a book is available right now, you can go ahead and borrow it immediately. It will say borrow right here. If it is not currently available, you have to wait for it. It will say place hold. So now I guess I will demonstrate how to check out a book. So for example, this one here, it says borrow. It's available for checkout right now. I would just click borrow, and then I'm going to click borrow one more time. And now I have checked out this book. I will be able to get back to it later by going to my shelf. I'm going to click not now. And so now I'm going to head back, and now I'll demonstrate placing a hold. So this one right here, it's not currently available. So I'm going to click place hold. And then now it's telling me how long I'll have to wait for the title. Every book that you would have to place a hold for, it will say about how long it's expected you will have to wait for it. So this is saying about 2 weeks. So now I'm just going to click place hold. And then I could either read a sample or I could go straight to my shelf and view my holds in my shelf, but I'm going to click Keep Browsing. Another thing is that you can tell the difference between ebooks and audiobooks because audiobooks will typically contain little headphones on the covers. But also, if it's an ebook, it will say read sample, and if it's an audiobook, it will say play sample. So that makes it a little bit easier to distinguish. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is head back to the library. So that was how to search for books, and I also demonstrated how to check out and how to place a hold. But this is the home page for the library, so this is where we can go to browse for books. So typically at the top of the page, we're going to have like featured titles or things that are spotlighted. Below that, we have some more featured titles. Here we have some different sections. So we have new books, so we could click new in books, new in audiobooks. We have what's popular, so we could view popular books and popular audiobooks. And then finally, we have what's available. So we have available books and then available audiobooks. I really like using the what's available option because even though these books are digital, you still have to wait for them sometimes like you would a regular book. So if I want to read right now, but maybe the title I want is not available, I do like to come over here to the what's available section, and then everything here is going to be available for checkout right now, which is really nice. Now I'm going to head back to the library. And then down here is where we start to get into like different genres. Here we have magazines. Here's where we have the different genre sections. So if we really like thrillers, we could click here. And then here we're going to see books that fall into the thriller genre. If we go back, if we really like historical fiction, we could come here. And here's where we can see historical fiction books, and so on and so forth. So that is really cool, especially if maybe you just want to browse around, see what's out right now. That's a good place to go as well, so that you can browse by genre. So now we have some more featured books. We have books about canning. Yeah, and so on and so forth until we get all the way to the bottom. But this makes browsing for books really, really easy to do, really simple, and I find that to be really nice. Finally, we could come over here to this Explore button. And then here's just another way to browse. So we can see different guides. So we have a guide to business, we have magazines, we have summer reading, and then again, we have what's new, popular, available. We can look at subjects, we can see what's featured, so on and so forth. Okay, so now I have gone over how to browse on Libby, and I've also demonstrated how to check out items and place holds. So now I'm going to demonstrate how to find those books that you've checked out and placed holds on, and then how to read those items. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is come over here to the shelf link. And then here we can see our loans, our holds, and then our tags. Our tags aren't as important, so I'm not going to get into those today, but the first thing I'm going to do is click on loans. So now I'm going to go over the reading settings for both ebooks and audiobooks. So I'm going to start by opening up my ebook. So all I'm going to do here is click open in Libby. And then here we have our ebook. All we need to do to make our settings come up and go away is click the center of the page. To move throughout the book, all we need to do is click side to side on the text. So if I need to go back and read the previous page, I just need to click the left side and then the right side to move forward. So now I'm going to show you guys the different ebook settings. So first of all, at the bottom of the page here, we can see how many pages are in this book. We can see what page we're currently on, and then we can move from chapter to chapter by clicking on these buttons here. At the top here, we have a few more settings. So the first one here allows us to change the way we view the book. So this Basically, we can see 2 pages at a time, or we can change it to only see 1. If we click this magnifying glass here, we can search within the book. If we click this letter A, this is where we can change the font and text settings. So the first thing I'm going to do is click Include Accessibility Sizes. And so then we can make our font either smaller or we can make it larger. And clicking Include Accessibility Sizes allows us to make it a little bit bigger than we would otherwise. So this is as big as the font will go, and I think that's pretty nice. I'm just going to make that a little bit smaller. Below that, we can change the lighting of our book. So say it's nighttime and the brightness is really hurting your eyes. You can change it to dark mode. We also have sepia, or we have bright, which is the default. Below that, we have the book design. So it's currently set to the publisher's default, but we could also change that. So the first one here is legible. We also have scholar. There's the paperback version, and then there's the open dyslexic for people who have dyslexia. So that's pretty neat as well. I'm going to change that back to the publisher's default, and then I'm going to click this little line to make this go away. Whoops. If we click on the center again, the next setting we have is to view our bookmarks. So if we leave a bookmark and then the next day we want to pick up where we left off, all we need to do is click there. And then if we're in the middle of reading and we want to leave a bookmark, all we need to do is click the bookmark icon right here. When we are all done with our ebook, all we need to do is click back, and then here we are back at our shelf. Okay, so now we are going to go over audiobook reading settings. So the first thing we're going to do is come over here to our audiobook, and I'm just going to click Open Audiobook. So the first thing I'm going to point out is right here we have the play button. To the left of that, we can rewind our audiobook by 15 seconds. And then to the right of that, we can fast forward our audiobook by 15 seconds. We could also click here to move to the next chapter. Up at the top here, we can use this icon to change the playback speed of our audiobook. We can make it either we can decrease the speed or we can increase it, make it play faster. Right here we have this little moon symbol. So this is where we can set a timer. So if it is nighttime and we're listening to our audiobook, we can set a timer so that the audiobook automatically turns off after a set amount of time. Next, we can view our bookmarks that we have left in our audiobook. And then again, we have the bookmark icon right here so that we can leave a bookmark in our audiobook. And then of course, when we are all done with our audiobook, all we need to do is come back here and click back. And then again, we're back here at our shelf. Okay, and the last thing that I am going to demonstrate in Libby is how to view and manage your holds. So here we are in the loans section of our shelf. So I'm just going to come up here to shelf and I'm going to click this button. So now we are back on the home page for our shelf. We've already looked at our loans, and so now I'm just going to come down here to holds. So here I can see my book that I have on hold. I can see about how long I will need to wait for it. I can play a sample of it, or I can manage my hold. So if I click here, it tells me when my hold was placed, but then I also have the option to cancel or suspend my hold. Suspending my hold allows me to suspend the hold for a certain amount of time, and then after that amount of time is up, it will be back on my holds list. Canceling it just cancels it altogether. You lose your place in line for that book, and then if you wanted it later, you would need to place another hold and you would have to wait again. And that is pretty much all there is to it. I'm going to go back to my shelf here and then back to the library homepage. And then next we are going to go over Overdrive.